All right, and we are back, people. And I thought, you know what? If I'm going to be coming back here, I might as well do it with one of the best people I've had on my podcast, and it is Mr. Elijah.
You flatter me, buddy.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not too much, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
It's good.
Oh, it's been forever, man. Like,
Yeah.
normally, I remember when we did the podcast with each other, and it was kind of like our podcast channel, basically.
Yeah, and then life happened.
Yeah, and then we
Yeah.
got old, I guess.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Couple of geezers now.
Yeah, pretty much. But man, so I know before this you're asking me about the whole Star Wars, like the last, or sorry, not, I was about to say Last Jedi. Fuck. Um, the the Rise of Skywalker. Sorry. Okay, so the Rise of Skywalker. You're asking me what I thought about the trailer. So I'm just gonna give you a full blown answer right now.
Okay.
Okay, so I liked it. I liked kind of seeing what they're gonna offer. I know in the past, with the Star Wars saga, I know like some of the trailers were a little bit misleading. Now, mind you, with like the Revenge of the Sith, I mean that as much as they can be misleading all they want, but
It's a
everybody kind
set
of
story. You
it's
know
a
what's
set
gonna
story.
happen. Yeah.
Absolutely, you kind of know what's going to happen. But with the last, or I keep wanting to say like the Last of Skywalker, whatever. Sorry, the Rise of Skywalker. The Rise of Skywalker. I'm not 100% sure where they're going to go with that. Um, Now, obviously, I think it's pretty clear that Palpatine's back, and I wonder how he's going to play a role in there. Now, with all the leaks that I've heard, I don't know what you've heard about him coming back and how he's going to get killed off. Because obviously, if he does come back, they're going to kill him off. I mean, I don't want to like give a spoiler, but I think that's pretty common sense that they would kill him off again. So I'm just not too sure what his purpose is going to be. And I've heard some rumors. Now, this is just rumors, not spoilers, but apparently he's going to be like the grandfather of Ray.
That's
And
what I've been hearing, and that Ray and Kylo are gonna like work together to defeat him. And you know what? I'm all right with her being related to Palpatine. I was all right with her being related to no one. Like it's a fresh start to a new character, not a character we've already seen before. Um,
goddamn thing.
I like originality. Not everyone in Star Wars has to be related. It just makes the universe feel smaller.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's good that as much as I haven't been completely 100% happy with the new movies that came out in the last couple of years, one thing I will give them credit for is the fact that like they've kind of, as much as they've taken ideas like from the Empire Strikes Back, like from New Hope to Empire Strikes Back, because that's kind of what you saw from the Force Awakens and the Last Jedi. You kind of saw that. Okay, so they really took a toll, or the Empire slash New Order, or the First Order took a toll, and then the second movie they come back and they kind of like whoop the Resistant slash Rebel Alliance ass. So you look at both trilogies, and they're very much alike. But like I said, I mean, one thing I do like is the fact that with Rey as right now, she isn't related to someone, whereas you got Luke Skywalker, where the whole story is about him related to, his father, Anakin, and how this whole everybody's kind of related somehow, or like it doesn't like there's no originality. But then again, there really can't be because the originals and the prequels are kind of are they're related to each other. So I can kind of see like that being one thing. But now with these new movies, they kind of got away from that. They kind of say okay, yeah, we want to kind of keep the Skywalker idea in here, but let's kind of take these characters and make them just their own idea. So if they said in this last movie that Ray isn't related to anybody and you never figure it out, I'm okay with that. I agree. I 100% agree. If they say that it's Palpatine's granddaughter, I think that's kind of fucking weird. I don't know how that's gonna make sense unless, of course, he has the power to make people. Like I don't know. I still don't truly understand what happened with Anakin, but besides that,
Anakin was made by midi chlorians, bro.
what?
Anakin was made by the midi chlorians, bro.
Okay.
Which is really
Yeah.
stupid.
Sorry.
But
Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. So I mean, obviously, but Palpatine, wasn't it that he manipulated the midichlorians to make
oh
him?
no, it
Or
was
I'm
some
not.
stupid shit like
Yeah,
that.
okay,
But
I knew that part, but I wasn't 100% sure about how
they
because
imply that Darth Plagueis is his father, though he never physically touched Anakin's mother.
right.
You know,
I fucking doubt
Rey being
that.
related to Palpatine, I don't know. I don't really mind it as long as they do it in a way that makes sense. Just like with Palpatine's resurrection.
Yeah.
Um, just I'm not really sure how they're gonna do that. But the only thing the trailers have given us is that he has a massive legion of underground ships, or underwater ships, I should say, and they're very powerful. And that you're gonna see the Knights of Ren in a vision of Rey turning to the dark side. But
Yeah. Well, with Rey turning to the dark side in that one shot in the trailer, in the one I can't remember what it's called, a D something trailer. Now in that one, I think it was pretty clear that that was just a vision. Now, I mean, I think it's 99%, or sorry, there's a 98% chance that it's a vision,
oh, I think it's
and
not.
I think that 2% is either Palpatine made a clone of Rey. I, I don't know, but it's Star Wars, and they can do whatever the fuck they want at this point. I mean, they just brought Palpatine back, so if they can do that, they can freaking do whatever they want. Um, I don't know. It's kind of one of those movies where I find with J.J. Abrams, he's trying to save the. It's like a movie that they're trying to. So I don't know if he felt that bringing Palpatine in was going to make sense, or he did it because he's trying to save the trilogy because Ryan Johnson screwed up the Last Jedi. As much as I still like the movie, but I do agree with some people that it wasn't as good.
I liked it just fine, but yeah, a lot of the fan base didn't like it for some reason. You know, I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. It was risk. It took risks, and Force Awakens played it pretty safe. Because that's a lot of pressure on J.J. Abrams' shoulders. He had to make up for the prequels. He had to make a good story that's not exactly 100% like the
So,
original one.
so are
He
you
had to.
saying that the prequels were garbage?
I mean, episode 1 and 2 were, but I really liked Revenge of the Sith though. I like Revenge of the Sith better than Return of the Jedi actually. So,
Yeah. Well, mentioning Return of
and I can even tolerate episode 1 and 2 because they're nostalgic for me. Though I agree that most of the stuff that happens in them is just filler and a lot of crappy dialogue, and some stuff
the.
doesn't even make sense.
Well, the
But
first one for sure. I mean, Jar Jar. There was no reason for that guy to show up.
oh, honestly, I thought I gotta think episode 2 is worse now. They switch sometimes for me. At
Yeah.
least episode 1 was entertainingly bad, where the second one was just sort of like forgettably bad.
Yeah. Well,
It did give us some cool things though. I didn't mind. I liked Count Dooku.
I liked him too.
Mace Windu's not bad. Um,
Well, with Count Dooku, I think with that did obviously you had to have some kind of villain, so I get that part. But I find they did make it make sense. I think they created something and it made sense because they did say that he was once a Jedi. But it's like, why out of him, out of all these Jedi, that he just became so powerful? Um, Now, obviously, I would assume that people that turn to the dark side become more powerful, right?
that is an illusion, I think. It's all depend on how in touch you are with the Force. I believe because
Right.
people all over a lot of the fan base complained about Snoke getting killed off in a lame way, but they forget what happened to the Emperor in a much similar way. Like, why do you guys think that these Sith Lords are actually as powerful as they claim to be? I mean, like, they could just be lying, and that's one of the problems with the fan base. Like, they whine too much about sort of things that could easily be defended. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think I could maybe see how I could agree with you. Um, and with I don't know, like going back, you were talking about Return of the Jedi. I just watched that maybe 2 weeks ago, and I think I appreciate it more now. It's not that I didn't like the movie.
Oh
I
no,
didn't
there's
look
nothing
at it
wrong with the
seeing like
movie.
that's
Just
one of my favorite out of all the movies now. Now I do see it as one of my favorite movies, particularly because the scene with Luke and Darth Vader when he like loses shit, he's like no,
oh
and
yeah,
then he like goes after him.
those were some of the best parts of the movie. I thought.
Yeah,
No, it's just
but
the
obviously that part is where Luke was tested to see if he would use his anger against his father, which he kind of does. But then is before he strikes his father down, he realizes like this is exactly what happened to my father. I don't want to go down the same path, and he resists the dark side at that very moment. And I don't know. I just when you see that, it kind of you don't like when I say I do like the newer movies, but you don't see as much of those moments. It's very much just I find the newer movies, and this is how I just read them. It's all about there's a Star Wars shoot 'em up, lightsaber battles, just shoot 'em up. Where I kind of saw that a little bit in the prequels, especially with Attack of the Clones. Like I know that there's gonna be clones fighting, the separatists and whatever. I get that part, but I found there was a little bit of that in there too, especially in episode three. But I get it because in episode three there's a lot of lightsaber battles for a reason. They didn't just
there are 5 lightsaber battles in total in that movie.
yeah, and but I get it. There's a reason for it. Um, Now in I will say for the newer movies, I like the fact that they are able to do a lot more in terms of special effects and just what in general with with film because yeah, you might have to switch that around. With because in the sorry, I lost my train of thought because in the newer movies they have uh, all the technology to go beyond maybe even what the prequels could do. Uh, Certainly beyond what the older movies could do. And I mean, if I want to play devil's advocate for the older ones, I will say that of course, I mean they couldn't do as much because I mean the first movie was made in '77, so I mean they only could do so much special effects that they could. So I mean, but then if I go to the original movies, I would say they're better because they have that original
The
look
effects
on
for
Star
me have
Wars.
never really played a big factor in whether or not it's a good movie. Because, like, you have effects that are absolute garbage that can still be good movies as long as the story makes up for, as
Well,
long as it's a good story, I can enjoy it.
and I'm not saying that the originals had bad effects, but you can tell obviously it's old because well
Very dated.
they're dated. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
mean you could tell that they're
The thing is that the story for episode 1 and 2 didn't really much make up for the effects that they had.
that is
George
true.
Lucas with those movies kind of gave off the vibe that that's all he wanted to make them was just movie effects. And
Yeah.
I just think he really needs to learn that just because it's CGI doesn't mean it's a good effect. And
Oh well.
a good story is what counts. Episode 1 and 2, you could tell he was just making them for filler. He had no idea what he wanted to do for episode 1 and 2.
Well, because episode three was really
Episode 3
what.
was the one he wanted to tell, and it really shows.
Oh, and yeah. Well, episode two, you could see it starting. But yeah, that was more. I know what you're saying. It had lot of fillers. Um, I mean, the story went well, but it was you can tell that that's not what fans want to see. The fans want to see Anakin start fucking getting yellow eyes and start kicking some
And they
ass.
could have done that too, they didn't have to make Anakin a kid. He could have been a good guy in the first one, about a, around the end, have him turn to the dark side of the second movie, and then maybe through the third movie have him already be like Darth Vader. Maybe have him, I don't know, maybe even put in the suit halfway. But and don't get me wrong, I love Return of the Jedi, but I'm just saying I thought Revenge of the Sith was better. It its heart was in the right place on where it wanted to be story wise. Where Return of the Jedi, I think it should have been more focused on the aspects of Vader and his son Luke.
I do, yeah.
Getting rid of the Ewoks,
I will
they
give you
were
brownie points for that
unnecessary.
one. Yeah,
Um, Yoda dying was kind of
I thought it was pointless.
I don't think it was pointless,
I
just
did.
not executed very well. I mean, like he showed up right as he was gonna die. Like what a coincidence.
Well, does he? Did they? Or does the movie or does like the people that work for the movies or anybody that knows anything about the Star Wars, like anybody that knows the insiders, did they ever explain why Yoda died? Or he just died because he was just too old.
I think he was just too old.
Okay.
That's how they played it off in the movie, at least. Remember Yoda,
Well,
old and
doesn't he have a line where he says something like, well, when you're 600 years old, or he says something like, or when you're
900 years
900 years
old.
old, yeah.
You may look as good. You're not, something like that. But
Yeah, something like that.
I just brush it off as old age. He died from old age.
Yeah. Well, in the Last Jedi, when he comes back as a Force ghost, I didn't like the fact that they took how he looked or taken how he looked from the original movies, because in the originals, I mean, from the I get it, I know, because the movie's much older, so they had a different way of how Yoda was gonna look, versus Episode 3 when the CGI was a lot better, and how he looked there versus how he looked in the movies. But why wouldn't they just take how he looked in the third movie? Because quite frankly, it's not like he aged that much more. It was
Well,
just 20 years
because
later.
he still looks like Yoda. You know what I mean? Like even the crappy looking CGI Yoda, he still looks roughly like the same puppet. So I didn't think there was really much point there.
Yeah, I guess so.
To be honest, I like Yoda better as a puppet.
Yeah, I guess so. It's all right. Um, yeah. So one thing that is like a big, big, big question, and I think I'm gonna ask you because I kind of already have an answer for myself. Um, but what do you think about Hayden Christensen coming back for the Rise of Skywalker?
um,
I think it's gonna happen.
it might actually, you know what? And if they do it right, I think it could work. If they do it right, and it's J.J. Abrams, and I'm like, I know I'm probably gonna like get like mixed feelings from you for saying this, but I think it should have been Hayden Christensen in the Rise of Skywalker to talk to Luke, just because it would have like given Luke and his father more closure than they got in Return of the Jedi.
You mean in the Last Jedi? You mean?
No, Return of the Jedi.
Oh yeah,
We never like
sorry, yeah.
got got like a good fair. Well, it's not like wasn't a good farewell. It was just like, I would have liked to see him more in touch with his father's, with Anakin, because all he experienced was Darth Vader.
Well,
And that
and I
one
mean,
little conversation he had with Anakin was right when he died.
yeah.
So I think it could have been his father that showed up to teach him the lesson about failure. Although I didn't mind Yoda either. Yoda does make sense, but I think Hayden Christensen would have made sense too. And even if
Yeah.
they don't get Hayden Christensen back, they're probably gonna like use some like CGI for him, it. But
Oh yeah, and that's a great thing. Like that's what they're doing with Carrie Fisher because she
but
died.
you know what? If they do it right, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I think I'd be okay with it too. Um, no, but if they do use him, I find what's going to happen is either I don't think he would talk to Ray. I don't think so. He might talk to Ben. Oh, like Kylo Ren, but I'm gonna call him Ben for the sake of we're talking more like the good side of him.
Yeah.
I believe and this is my prediction. Freaking thing. My prediction for the Rise of Skywalker is what's gonna happen is Rey's gonna fight Kylo Ren maybe once or twice. The Knights of Ren is confirmed, so I think
Oh, they're in the trailer. The first teaser, anyway.
I don't remember.
Remember when Kylo Ren like tackled that one with his arm? That was one of the Knights of Ren.
Oh, you mean the part where like, oh yeah, in that one teaser.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, those are the Knights of Ren.
Now, are they like do they have like lightsabers too or no?
From what I've seen of him, no.
So what?
Remember in the Force Awakens in that vision with the Knights of Ren?
Yeah, I
Kylo was
do.
the only one with a lightsaber. The others had like I don't know, like some sort of metal rods or
Yeah,
like axes or something like that. But if you're asking if they're Force users, I can't tell you. They might just be a group that are professionally trained in combat.
yeah, something like that. But
Or they may have lightsabers and we just haven't seen them yet, and they could be the Jedi that Kylo Ren escaped with when he escaped Luke.
and that's what I might think because in the
But where the name Ren came from, I have no idea.
yeah, but that is an interesting factor because you don't actually know what happened to the rest of Luke's students. I don't think he killed all those students.
He didn't. He killed most of them and made off with a handful of Luke's students. That was explained in The Last Jedi.
Right. Yeah, because he killed some of them, and then the rest. So what happened to the rest of those? So that might be the Knights Run there.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
whether they use lightsabers or force wielders or not, I don't know how far along in their training they may have gotten. So yeah, I need answers, damn it.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, and I just hope when we go see the movie, or when I go see the movie, there'll be that closure. Okay, the saga's done. No more bullshit. No more open end. There's still. I know for a fact that there's gonna be something that will happen that you'll have to ask, like what.
Rumor is they're going to be making the Knights of the Old Republic movie and it's going to be like on a Lord of the Rings scale, and that would be really good too.
That would be
you know?
kind of cool. Now, is
They
that
wouldn't have to
more?
live in the footsteps of what George Lucas already created. They could just be its own thing, and
Now, is
they
that
wouldn't have to worry about closure to anything but their own story, which if they tell it good, should be good.
now is that more about when like there was a lot more Jedi and they were hunting down all the Sith? Do you think they'd go after that kind of story where?
I
Do you
think
remember
so.
when? Because you remember when Yoda was going on about. I'm not sure if it was Yoda. Or no, I think it's what Obi-Wan says to Qui-Gon when he says they've been killed. The Sith been like have been extinct for a
millennia.
yeah. I think that's what he says. So I wonder if they're going to take that approach and kind of use that story line of them
It'd
taking
probably take place like quite a few thousand years before the prequels, probably.
right. And I mean, they could do that and just make up new Jedi. And I think it'd be a great movie because it's going to be like non-stop action, like fucking lightsabers going over. And can you imagine that? Like having seen like 4 or 5 Siths fighting a couple of Jedi.
Yeah, it would be a pretty good action scene, and as long as it has good character development and story to go with it, that'd be great.
Yeah. But we'll see how they do it because I think that's confirmed too, right? They are going to.
I don't know if it's confirmed, but I hope it happens. We need this.
Yeah, well, the Star Wars stuff is never going to end. I don't think. I was watching. It's really interesting. I was watching a video, and this guy was talking about why isn't Star Wars maybe as popular as it used to be, and he made a really good point. And he said that he's like, I think the problem is back in the seven, like, because the first one was made in '77, right?
Yeah.
He said the first one was made in '77, and then a couple were made in the early '80s. He's like, I think the problem is now, or sorry, back then, the difference is back then was in that time frame you didn't really have the Star Wars. Like you had Star Trek and you had some
2001: Space Odyssey. Yeah.
yeah, like you had stuff that was coming out that was related to space, but you didn't have a Star Wars.
Star Wars was like combining fantasy and sci-fi together with a
Yeah,
few other genres.
exactly. So when you had that, a lot of people were like, "Wow, that's awesome." And I'm not saying people don't like Star Wars now. I mean, when the Force Awakens came out, like people were going freaking crazy about it. Um, Now, with that being said, back in that time, that was crazy. Like that was like every 10-year-old was like wanted to be Luke Skywalker, I'm sure, and wanted to fight Darth Vader. Now, when you see this millennium, I think in the last 5 to 10 years, what's been more the popular thing is the Avengers. I mean, you look at like I know I could talk to any 10-year-old kid, and he or she would say, "Oh no, I love the Avengers movies." Like I mean, the adults like them too. So I think the Avengers genre has, or like that Marvel has really taken off in the last 10 years. That's kind of like, and that's what he was saying. Like that's kind of like the Star Wars back then, and that's why Star Wars isn't as popular now. Is because like
It's
the Marvel,
overshadowed by Marvel.
yeah, Marvel's really taken it by storm, and they should. I mean, you look at they've done a terrific job. I
Yeah, they
mean,
have.
and I don't get me started with DC because
Uh,
for the life of me,
well, Joker.
Joker was good.
Yeah,
I
Joker
was
was really good.
I was very impressed. I think though I don't it's not I don't even want to consider it a negative comment. It's just not even maybe not even critique. It's more for myself. I found I had the expectation that you were going to see a lot more of him being the Joker than just him getting to that point. But I was okay with that too. It was really well done, and I didn't see it so much a Joker movie, like Joker in terms of Joker, like, and I'm kind of glad because if they just made a movie, standalone movie with him just being Joker and just started off with him being the Joker, I mean, I think it would still be good, but this was just done beautifully,
Yeah.
and it was just the music was good, the lighting, the idea of the whole story, um, and I mean, my favorite part was when he, I guess I can probably say, because the movie's been out for a while, but spoiler, but when he kills Murray,
Yeah.
that was the best fucking part of the movie. Actually, I went to go see it with my parents. I don't ever go to the movies with my parents, but I did. They wanted to go see it, and my mom's looking at me like, "Wow, this is a pretty good movie." And then when the part when he shoots Murray, my mom jumped out of her chair, like, "Oh!" I'm like, "Wow!" I was kind of expecting it. I had an idea he was gonna kill Murray because obviously Murray disrespected him. You can see how freaking crazy
Oh,
he's
I knew he was
becoming.
gonna die.
I saw that coming, but I didn't expect it like that. It was more I thought something would happen where it'd be like a big talk like, and now I'm gonna kill you now, or something like that, or he's gonna kill a bunch of people in the audience. I didn't know exactly what was gonna happen, but that was good. But I love the part where he calls him Moray.
Yeah. Yeah, Joaquin was really good. I'd
Yeah,
say he's on par with Heath Ledger.
yeah. Heath Ledger, I think, is just slightly taking it for number one spot.
Yeah, me too.
But that being said, Walken is not far off either.
No.
Um, and I think like I'm okay with what they did. Now Heath Ledger, or I was about to say Heath Ledger. Now when we get Jared Leto, I mean that's just a
Wow.
totally.
We
I
don't
don't.
talk.
I
We don't
don't
talk
look
about
at.
his. We don't talk about his Joker.
Well, I don't think that it's not so much that I find he did. I don't. It's not that I don't think he's a good actor. I don't. It's not that I don't think that he. I think the problem is that
he was
he just.
obviously trying to outdo Heath Ledger, like
Yeah, he
trying
was.
really hard
You could
to.
sell.
He
Yeah,
acted like a complete ass to everyone on set and just made everyone call him Mr. J and just let it all go to his head.
yeah.
You don't hear anything about Joaquin Phoenix or Heath Ledger like sending dead pigs to other cast members, disrespectful
I think it
shit
was
like
Dead
that.
Rats or something like that. Like he did that to get in the role. I'm thinking you don't need to do that. If you need to do that to get in the role, the role's not for you.
And
Like Walking
and
Phoenix, there's a reason why they gave it to him.
he was bitching about, and the fact that he bitched about Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie and tried to stop it may have hopefully just pushed him out of that role for good.
Well, I think he did lose it,
I hope so. I couldn't stand him.
and I wish as much.
And I'm not saying I couldn't stand him because like he was a bad villain. I'm saying he was like a bad portrayal of the Joker. It was
Yeah,
cringeworthy.
yeah. When you see him act now, when you think about it, I did find that it was very forced. Like everything was forced. It wasn't just flew naturally. Like when you look at Walking Phoenix, when you watch his character, you everything feels so natural. You feel you can get into the character's head. Same with even with Heath Ledger's Joker. Even though he just shows up the Joker, there's not you don't see how he becomes the Joker or anything. But you see the character, you feel the character. He gives that emotion in himself, and as well. I mean, he was the first time that the Joker you got to see the Joker like the dark kind of side of him. Besides the animations and with the Joker from the '60s, I think it was '60s. Um, it was kind of the first time where you kind of saw like, holy shit, this is kind of dark, and actually that's kind of what my mother said. We went to go see the Dark Knight. I think I was with a buddy of mine as well, and she's like, wow, this is like really dark. And I said, I know. So I think that kind of helped with Heath Ledger's part, but Heath Ledger's just was a great actor in general, and he just was able to just do it. He didn't have to force. Whoops.
Do it.
Yeah, do it. Freaking best line in the movie. He didn't. He just did it, and he didn't feel like he had to force the character to be something, and maybe that's why Jared Leto didn't do a good job because he just forced the character, and I just don't think the role was for him.
No, he.
But
He
I
tried
liked
it
the
way over
movie
the
for what
top.
it was. I liked it for what it was. I liked the Joker being in there for it being the Joker, but I didn't think he did a good job.
No, he sucked. But
So
anyway, back to Star Wars and Marvel we were talking about, was it?
yeah,
Yeah.
so I just think that now with Marvel's kind of taken over that genre, and then maybe in the next 20 years, you don't know what can happen. Like there'll be something new. Like I find if you look, okay, so '80s was like Star Wars, and you got Terminator, and you had a bunch of those kind of. If we're talking about like that kind of genre, like if we're not talking about just general like you know like John Hughes movies, like I'm not talking about like Breakfast Club and all those like
Yeah.
'80s
Planes,
iconic like the
trains, and
Goonies
automobiles.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not talking about that, but more like just like action, sci-fi, whatever. You saw a lot of like the Star Wars, Star Trek, Terminator, a lot of those like alien or whatever like robots, and then '90s was kind of like almost I can't even describe it.
Sci-fi-ish kind of. You
Yeah,
know, you had
'90s was starting to become more like
Independence Day, The Fifth Element,
yeah,
Men in Black, stuff like that.
so yeah, stuff like that, and then the 20th century started. Well,
Early
then
2000s, you had movies like Blade and
did it say 20th century? I meant the 2000s. Yeah, Blade was coming out, and then the Star
Lord of the
Wars.
Rings. You know.
Lord of the Rings, yeah, that was a big one. Yeah, like fantasy, yeah, and then like you said, the fantasy and then obviously the prequels, the Star Wars came back out, and that was crazy. Like people went nuts on Episode One.
Yes.
Um,
It was my first. It was the first movie I ever saw at the show. Was as a kid.
I don't know if I ever saw Episode One at the show.
I did.
Yeah.
I don't. I vaguely remember it, but like I know I was there because my parents had to wake me up for the lightsaber battle at the end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah. So then you had those movies, and then probably about 2008 to probably last year was really the Marvel era. I mean, you don't know how many more they're gonna do, but that was definitely the Marvel era where, well, you start off with Iron Man, and then you start to see, all these other standalone movies, and um, and then you started seeing a lot of the movies coming, or like the shows coming out on Netflix, like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, all these movies coming out. So I think the Marvel part really, or the Marvel genre really took over, and I think as much as like people are going to go see Star Wars, I don't see it as a big. I don't see it as advertised as much. I remember when the prequels came out, and that was so advertised. I don't know, maybe I noticed it more because I was a kid, but the toys were so advertised. Like everybody I knew and their brother had like the action figures, and I remember having the Lord of the Rings action figures too. I wish
Yeah,
I
I
didn't. I
have
wish I
those
didn't get
too.
rid of them. I wish I
Yeah,
didn't.
yeah, me too. It's some of the regrets we have.
Right.
Yeah,
And then you also had, I mean, if we really want to get into The Walking Dead, you had the Walking Dead era, and
yeah,
I could get into that all day long.
yeah.
But I mean, The Walking Dead started in 2010 and it's still going on. It's crazy.
This is more the era of television than it is movies, to be honest.
Yes, yes.
Because you have a revolutionary show like Breaking Bad that's come out, and it's better if it's a series because it's like more development.
Well, true. And I think, yeah, and you're right. I think that this era has really taken off with the television series. I mean, as much as I like to go see movies, I don't like to go to the movie theater as much. Well, one, I mean, it's expensive, but two, I just like for me for movies, I don't do as much. Where you got TV shows where like I liked a lot of series like Breaking Bad was one, Spartacus show was one that was really good. And then you had a couple other ones like I mean The Walking Dead. I still like The Walking Dead. I mean it has kind of died down. Everybody knows it. It's no secret that it's kind of plummet a little bit. But for the longest time, I was a huge Walking Dead.
I'll still watch it. It's just I haven't really committed myself to it.
Right. I mean, with The Walking Dead, I can remember. I think it was about season 4, season 5 is when it was like it hit the peak, and I mean, it was just crazy. Everybody was talking about how good of a damn show it was. And then after a while, then you get to about season 7, and then that's when Stranger Things came out. Now, Stranger Things is kind of like the new fad. I don't know what other TV shows that just come out that everybody likes, but yeah. So I think this is kind of the TV show era or TV series era.
Mr. Robot is pretty good too.
I've never seen that.
It's really good.
That's played with Rami Malek, right? He
Yeah.
played as Freddie Mercury.
No, that's Bohemian Rhapsody. Mr. Robot is a TV series.
Okay, what did I just say? Shit, sorry. Rami Malek, he played as Freddie Mercury in
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian.
Yeah.
What the hell did I just say? Did I say Miss
He
Robot?
said, "Oh yeah, you're like, it doesn't matter anyway."
Okay,
But,
well, yeah, he played Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody. I thought he did a freaking great job there too.
yeah, he's a good actor.
And also, and if we really want to get into that shit, even also, it's like TV or movie, like movie or movies that are based on music are really becoming a hit too. Like you had Bohemian Rhapsody. You didn't see as much in the early 2000s. Like you had the
We
movie
had the
about Bob
movie
Dylan.
Ray and Bob Dylan.
Ray, yeah, with Bob Dylan and Ray. But yeah, like Bohemian Rhapsody came out, and then you had um, the one movie with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. I mean, that was more uh, it was based on music, but it
I
wasn't
think
like
they recently did one with Elton John too.
yeah, the one on Ellen John. So you had that one too. So you kind of had a couple of those movies that are kind of music based, and it's really interesting that I wonder if they're going to do any more. Oh, and they also did the Dirt about Motley Crue.
Yeah, did they?
Motley
Yeah,
Crue, sorry.
I don't remember that one.
Well, it came out on Netflix. Like fuck, every movie comes on Netflix now. Nothing
Yeah.
goes to theaters.
El Camino. Yeah.
El Camino, I still haven't seen that.
Oh, it's pretty good. It's a good epilogue to Jesse's character from Breaking Bad.
right. So it kind of tells what happened after
After he escapes the
he
neo-Nazis.
escapes.
It takes
Yeah.
place like right after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of good though that I don't really think he's aged that much, so it's good that they did it while they could.
Yeah.
Because if you haven't really aged, then it makes sense, and they don't, and you look at him, he's like,
And there's like
yeah.
some new flashbacks while he was like in prison there too, like by that one Todd guy
Is that the one really skinny guy?
with the blonde hair.
Oh no, Todd was the one that killed that kid, right?
Yeah.
Shot the kid on the
Yeah.
bike. I'll still never remember. I can't remember why he did that. It was just because.
Because he's a psychopath.
Yeah, apparently.
He wanted to leave no witnesses for the train crash, for the train robbery either.
Yeah.
But the dude who plays him is still really good. He has put on weight, but like I think he's still as good as just as good as he was in Breaking Bad.
That's good.
Yeah.
Like, was it noticeable in the movie that he
Oh
put
yeah.
on weight?
Yeah.
But it didn't make sense
It
though.
made sense. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like I don't care if like there's little problems like that. As long as it still makes sense and falls properly with the story, it's all right.
Well, if you look at Star Wars, I mean, obviously Mark Hamill, he's gotten older, so when you get old, you kind of put on weight. But he didn't like. I think they did have him slim down a little bit. They made him lose a little bit of weight. Like they got him.
I don't think he was that. I don't think he had that much.
He wasn't crazy like over weight, but he was weighing a little bit more. Like Harrison Ford, it
Yeah, I
still
guess so.
looked like you look at Harrison Ford, he still looks the same.
Yeah, he's still in good shape
Yeah.
for his age. Yeah.
But the same with like Carrie Fisher, they had him have her lose a bunch of weight for the movie, um, and I mean I'll be interested to see what they're gonna do with her because obviously she's dead, and I think they said they're taking like footage and somehow they're gonna put her in and well, like there's that scene where she's hugging Ray, so obviously they got an actress that looked a lot like her, and then they just took her face and planted it.
What'd you think about that Super Leia scene from The Last Jedi?
Oh, you mean when she was using the Force?
Yep.
It made sense. I think so. I mean, because we don't know if Luke ever kind of gave her a little bit of a look at the power.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna stop you there because back in The Force Awakens, when Han gets stabbed right through the fucking heart, it switches to a scene of Leia sitting down in agony over her dead ex-husband. That was enough to tell you right there that she was in touch with the Force. I thought it was nice and subtle. You didn't like have to have her fly through space. I mean, to be honest, after her death, maybe her character should have been killed off because like her character almost wasn't really needed through the rest of that movie.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. I think, but they didn't. They weren't planning on her dying though.
Yeah, I know.
So they're. I think
But
they're
like
obviously.
this is like a whole year, but she died like a whole year before the movie came out. So.
Yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess that is true. But I mean, I'm not too sure if they're going to kill her off in this one. I think they will, just because then it's easier, right? It makes it.
They might and they might not. Who knows? But
I guess we'll have to see. I mean, you look
all
at.
I know is that I miss Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, she was a good character. Um, she had a purpose. I mean, she was the leader, or she's still the leader, I guess. They haven't killed her off yet. Um, but I wonder, like, I kind of like the fact that now Poe, Ray, and Finn are kind of all together. That kind of trio, kind of what happened with Luke, Leia, and Han, and
It's just that Super Leia though is like, oh, it's like right up there with Vader going no.
like that kind of cringy kind of moment.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it.
It's just a nitpick.
Okay. No, I'll say this. I just wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that she would have that kind of force, but the part when she knew that Han got killed, I could expect that because
That
maybe
was-
she's force sensitive.
It was nice and it was subtle, like.
Right. And I liked about it was knowing that, hey, I mean, maybe she didn't know, she wasn't trained by Luke, but she had that force sense of knowing that she can see things when they happen, or she can see things, but she's not there, but she knows it happened. Um, but I wonder, and I guess we're talking the whole family tree here. But with Kylo Ren, I mean, do you think Do you think he'll come back? But if he does, obviously they're not gonna. It wouldn't make sense for him to just go scot free. I mean, he killed Han. He has like killed people. So I mean, I can't see it having a good ending for him either way. If whether Ray kills him
Well, Darth
or
Vader killed people, but he did not kill his own father. So,
what's that?
well, Darth Vader killed people, but he didn't kill his own father. But like
Well,
still,
didn't have one.
yeah, I don't know. I think Kylo could redeem himself, but like, he's done that thing in particular was pretty terrible. So,
Well, him killing Han.
and I have heard a leak that he does like turn to the good side and like come back and with Rey and
You
to
want,
help defeat Palpatine. But
you really want to hear some crazy shit that I heard?
yeah,
Okay,
go ahead,
so
fire away.
all right, this is kind of I'm just on you right now. Okay, so basically, from what I heard was so there's a scene where Palpatine is trying to get Rey to like fight him, but or to get her to attack him, but as he does that, because she has that bond with Kylo Ren, that's gonna make Kylo come to her aid so he can get them both. And what he's gonna do is when he's when he gets them both in the room, he somehow gets them connected to each other, and he uses both their energy to like almost like not I'm not sure rejuvenate himself, but more gain their power when they're together. I don't
So he can return to power.
return with a lot more power than he has. I
That
don't
would
know.
kind of make sense, I guess. Like he feeds off of their energy somehow.
I can't remember word for word, but then there's that, and then what happens is somehow Kylo Ren, um, he they try to fight him together, but Kylo Ren, for some reason I don't know what it was, but he gets shoved down like a shaft, and then you never see him again. And then Rey kills Palpatine, and then something happens towards the end, and you never find out what happens with Kylo Ren. I'm thinking there's no fucking way that they're gonna do that in this story. Just kill off Kylo Ren, and then you never hear him or hear or see of him again. It's almost like
It's kind of a cop out.
yeah, it's almost like okay, well we killed him off, but we're not gonna really show you. I mean, I get it if it was like if he was return if they made another movie and they'd be like, oh, he's alive or something. Okay, that makes sense. But I mean, it's the last movie, so it's like you're not gonna show anything of Kylo, or is that it? Okay, I don't know. Let's just cut the bullshit and let's just do it, and that's how we're gonna get it
Yeah.
done. I don't
Either way,
know.
if this movie does end up being bad, I'm still looking forward to a Knights of the Old Republic movie.
That would be kind of
it's
cool.
gonna because like if you think about it, it's gonna be a nice fresh start, and they don't have to follow off of whatever
Mm-hmm.
happened.
Yeah.
It takes place before the original trilogy and
Yeah.
far before the prequels, I think. And I think it could be a pretty interesting take on it, especially if it's on a Lord of the Rings scale. Like
Yeah. I think that'd be pretty cool too. Is it possible that? Oh no, right? Because Yoda's not that old. Yoda can't be that old.
Yoda's 900 years old.
Okay. Well, is there, no, they wouldn't have any
So I don't
Jedi
know
that
if,
can be that old, right? There's only some that can age so much, I think.
well,
And
how
don't
much is a millennia?
like um like 1,000 years.
Million? 1,000 years?
Yeah, I think
Yoda's
so.
close to 1,000 years, so
About 1,000 years. They could, you know
so
what
maybe they could have like a young Yoda.
they could have a young Yoda maybe,
Yeah. Or
and
they
just
could just
make
or they
it.
could just have brand new characters,
They could,
which I would be alright with.
yeah. And sometimes that's what you need to do, and not so much
Oh,
like
you could even have Harrison Ford in a cameo, like a clever cameo or something like that. But
yeah. I mean,
like put
that'd be
his
kind of
voice into
funny.
a droid or something.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
kind of fun. Or
Just for that little bit of fan service for all the fans. Oh, clap at every reference we see.
that's why I kind of don't want to see the movie on opening night because all you're gonna hear is woohoo and everybody's clapping. I'm like, watch the fucking movie.
I know, right?
I mean, hey, I mean, I
Don't
understand when you go to the
100%.
movie, that's where you're gonna expect. I mean, yeah, I know I'm bitching and complaining, but I
I mean,
mean, it's
hey,
like, come on.
I'm with them. Only I'm doing it in my head so I can see and hear what's going on.
It's like what I couldn't hear the last 2 minutes of dialogue because people won't like.
Oh, when I went to see The Force Awakens, every single fan servicey reference is just like, uh, started screaming and yelling. Ooh!
Yeah. Well, when Han came out, yeah, everybody was cheering, and I get it, I know, but it's like, why are you cheering though? It's like I don't know, like stuff like that. You just really cringe over it, or people that dress up to go to the movies. Or I swore when I went to go see the Joker movie, I thought people were gonna dress up for that. I saw it on the Thursday night, and actually there was one person. There was a girl. She was dressed up, and she had like a Joker kind of suit thing on. I was like, oh my god, like really? I mean,
Yeah,
hey, I mean,
it's not
if you're
Halloween.
yeah, it's
It's
like if you're happy with whatever you do it. But for me, it's like you just look at that and you're thinking, what are you doing?
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I would never dress up to the show. It's not my thing, but
Some people want to do that. I mean,
it's as long as you don't like hoot and holler during the whole movie.
yeah, I don't know. I get it. I get why some people do it, but it's like you're gonna dress up, you're gonna sweat, you're gonna start probably smell.
Yep.
That's one thing. Like, okay, so if I'm gonna tell you about Comic Cons, that's one of my biggest pet peeve going to Comic Cons. It's like because it gets so hot, especially the ones that you go to in the summer. All you smell is BO the whole time. It's like, oh god, it's terrible. It is fucking terrible. And when I went my last year going to Fan Expo, it's too expensive, man. But the last year I went to Fan Expo, it was really bad for BO. Just BO everywhere you could
Oh
smell.
no.
Um, and I remember when I met. I remember I was going through some of the places where you could look through stuff, and it was the one year I met who was it? Sean Patrick Flannery, and I think that's how you say his name. And we were going through there, and I was like, oh man, I know I already met you, but I can't shake your hand again. I was just really excited. I mean, it was cool to meet someone like that. I'm like, I know you guys are just people, but it's like, so he's like, oh no, no, no problem. He gave me a handshake, and I was asking him how you liked them. He's like, pretty good, but he says in his breath, he's like, fucking Mio. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Someone
He
just
was like, and it wasn't like he said it like this. It was more a fucking BO around here. Like he said, just like I'm like, okay, all right.
that's
So
awesome.
I don't know. As much as I like going to Comic Cons, and I know it's kind of a geeky thing to do. Honestly, I like going,
Yeah, I
but
would go if I could afford it, so
oh, and that's the problem. It's all about affording to go. And that's probably another factor for me not to go. It's just expensive. It's a BO. And I mean the waiting too. I mean I get it's a waiting game, but it's like wait for freaking everything, and you're shoulder by shoulder against people, and now I can't do that all day.
no, definitely not.
I remember the last time I went, I brought some food, and they're like, "You can't bring this in here." I'm like, "Why?" Like, "Oh well, like you're just not allowed to bring outside food." And I'm like, "Well, if I didn't have any money, you gotta let me starve." They're like, "Well, I'm sure there's places you could eat outside the convention center." I'm like, see how big this freaking convention place is, man? Dude, seriously,
Huge.
it's humongous. But it all worked out. I brought money, so I was okay. I didn't starve.
That's good. It's the important thing.
But yeah, I don't know. I like going to Comic Cons and stuff, but the crowdness and just everything goes with it. Just I can't do it anymore. I like to say that I'm too old for this shit, but I really am. I just can't. I can't do it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. But I think like, have you ever gone to the Chatham one before?
The Bradley Center one?
Yeah, the one at the Bradley Center,
Once.
and you didn't like it.
It was alright.
So what do you define as all right?
I mean, I don't know. They didn't really have like a whole lot of people that I knew there, except like maybe Tyler Mane, who
Tyler
played
Mane.
Sabretooth in the first X-Men movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, it just wasn't really like all that filled up. it was good. It was a good time. They had like a lot of cool stuff there, but
It was our first year too, right?
I don't know.
Well, if it was Tyler Maine there, yeah, it was their first year. I remember going the first year, and
yeah, that was the time I went. Yeah.
well, and I remember they had so many other things there. They had like wrestling stuff. I don't know what it is about wrestling, why it's so big at Comic Cons. I don't get that.
Yeah, I know. You think you go to Comic Con for comic book stuff.
Or you go there for like like the go there for like the kind of like what's like the newer things like Stranger Things and all those TV series that come out, and you would think so, but no, you got freaking wrestling. It's like
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
okay, all
Never
right.
expected to see wrestling at Comic Con, but hey,
Now, I didn't go to the Windsor Comic Con this year, but Darren McCarty was there. He played for the Red Wings in the '90s. He was like the enforcer. I mean, he was a good player too, but he was the enforcer on the
oh
team.
really?
Yeah, Darren McCarty. Actually, if you look behind me, I my dad has the signed jersey. I have one as well, but my dad and I we met him in the States a few years ago. And it wasn't a Comic Con thing. It was actually at the center, and sometimes on Saturday mornings they have people like from sports teams or whatever kind of sport. They'll have people sign stuff. So a lot of people they've had from like Detroit Tigers, Detroit Red Wings, thing stuff like that. And it was pretty cool. It was cool meeting him. But anyway, he was at the Windsor Comic Con thinking the guy's playing hockey. How the hell is that a comic? But whatever floats your boat. But I think that they were trying to
Maybe there's
do.
some hockey comic books out there.
I don't know. I don't know what kind of comics they're gonna come out with. The only comics I want to see is pucks smashing teeth, man. People losing teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, maybe I guess so. If you want to include Jason, he's wearing a hockey mask. So
Yeah, yeah, why not? That has something to do with hockey. Maybe that's yeah.
yeah, maybe.
Although Friday the 13th wasn't originally a comic, but
No, but I mean, I'm sure there are
it's
probably
movies,
comics that have been
so
made out of it. I wonder if there has been. I never.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Yeah, I was
I'm
wondering.
I'm 90% sure there has to be. Everything gets a comic book adaptation now these days.
But I don't know. I find that would actually be really good because when you're reading it, you in the movies you see Jason coming, but then like you could flip the sheet and you're like, holy shit, he's right there, and he like kills someone or whatever.
Yeah.
And with comics, you can do whatever you want. It's kind of cool. Um,
I mean, hey, they've made comics about certain Star Wars stuff in the past, so
I think they have. I've
they
read.
have, man. There's like a lot of them. I've seen my uncle's collection of comic books, and like I've seen a lot of Star Wars too.
I've seen. I remember I had the books. Um, I had the books of like different Star Wars things, like whether it be like a backstory for like Qui Gon or with like Qui Gon and Obi Wan before Episode One, like some of that like that off kind of stuff, and that's kind of what they're doing with the movies right now. They're doing like they did Rogue One, which was doing about how the rebels got the plans for the Death Star, and then they came out with um, the one about Han Solo, about when he was younger. And now they're coming out with that TV show on The Mandalorian. I think that's what
Yeah,
it's called.
that looks
That
good.
actually looks really kind of cool. I don't know if it's going to be like a couple seasons kind of thing or it'll just be one season and it's just a series. I don't know what they're going to do with that. But I hope it all makes sense and it's not just, they don't just come up with shit. Like it's not fillers like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm pretty excited for it. I'm not sure who's playing the Mandalorian. Um, no, I'm not actually 100% sure what the Mandalorians are.
They're from a planet called Mandalore, and uh, Boba Fett's armor is actually Mandalorian.
Yeah, because it looks a
So
lot
are the
like it.
Star Destroyers. I believe they're a Mandalorian design.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they sort of originally came from Mandalore. If you watch the Clone Wars, you'll know what Mandalore looks like and sort of like see what the world there is about. You know, I don't know if you've ever watched the Clone Wars or not.
No, I haven't.
No, okay. It's a pretty
I've
good show, actually.
well, I know it's
The
more
movie
for.
is ass, I know, but like if you get past that movie and like get past maybe the first two seasons, the first two seasons were all right, but like not as good as the rest.
And then Rebels is kind of like the aftermath, right? Is going
Clone
on.
Wars takes place between episode 2 and 3, where Mandalore takes no, not Man. Rebels takes place between episode 3 and 4.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's all right. I know in Rebels there's a scene where old Obi-Wan fights Darth
Darth
Maul. I'm
Maul,
like,
yeah.
oh my god, they just fucking get rid of Darth
Hey,
Maul.
they did.
Well, they did. He kills him, but
Yeah.
it's like that scene just made no frickin' sense.
I didn't really watch it, so I can really tell you if it made sense or not.
Well, he's just like, I've waited all this time for you, and it's like, okay, it just a lot of it just it was just weird. I don't know. I just for me,
Either way, I'm excited for Ewan McGregor to return as Obi-Wan and getting
I
his own
know.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that too. I think he'll be good. He's the right age for it now. But then again, Ewan McGregor has he still hasn't really
He
aged
hasn't
that
really even
bad.
aged it at all.
No,
So
he he
I
still
think
looks
what they're
pretty
gonna do
good.
at least is like add some white or something to his hair and beard, at the
Yeah,
very least. So
maybe they might do a little bit of that, and they might not. They could easily make a show about as soon as he delivered Luke
yeah, and they could
to
even like
Brew
do
and
flashbacks like and for the Clone Wars too, like because he really hasn't aged hardly at all. So
yeah. So they could add a little bit of white hairs to his beard, maybe, and maybe to the side, just showing how. Because
yeah, in the past 10 years, he still looks pretty good.
yeah, it's crazy how he looks good, but then Hayden Christensen has aged a little bit.
Didn't he blimp up a bit too?
What do you mean?
Like, hasn't he put on weight?
Um,
That's that's what I heard, and I think the last I saw him, he was kind of like blimping up a bit. But
he's blumped up a little bit, but he's not like he's gotten fat. Just I think when you age, you kind of get bigger in a way. Like it reminds me of like a lot of actors I've seen when they're younger, and then you look at them now, and it's like they still look good, but you can just tell that
their like face has changed.
face has
Like
changed a
yeah,
little bit, and yeah, I mean, for the exception of Tom Cruise, I mean that guy is just, or like Liam Neeson still looks like how he did in. I mean, maybe a little bit, but Liam
he's
Neeson's.
aged a bit.
I mean, maybe he has aged a little bit, but he hasn't aged as much as I would expect him to.
No, he still looks good for his age, but he has aged.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they had a flashback of them and Qui-Gon, they'd probably need to do a little bit of de-aging.
Well, have you seen the guy that played as the young Anakin? Are you an angel?
Oh, Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd. Oh, he looks fucking terrible, man.
He does. Well, I feel bad for him actually. That movie ruined a chunk of his life.
Well, I mean, because he didn't really give him much hope. Because once you get into a big movie like that, especially when you're not known, like at least for Harrison Ford was in a lot more movies before that, so he was already known, and he just happened to his career took off because Harrison Ford's a good actor.
Was Harrison Ford a known at that time? I mean, like he couldn't
Yeah,
have
in
been
the
an unknown, but like
late
maybe not
'70s,
as
yeah.
much of a known as like
No, no,
after
late.
what Star Wars did for him, and then after Star Wars, Indiana Jones.
No, he in the late '70s, yeah. He played in Apocalypse Now.
I still haven't seen that, but he was in it.
Yeah,
Really, was he one of the main characters or just like a?
he was like kind of like a side character, but I mean, you look and you knew it's him right away. Um, because in that movie,
That's the one where they apparently like slaughter a real cow, isn't it?
um, I'm not sure, man. It's just a scene with Martin Sheen's character. He goes into this
Marlon
like
Brando's in it too.
Marlon Brando,
Yeah.
but Marlon you don't see Marlon until the end of the movie. But no, Martin Sheen, he comes in and he's talking to one of the the major, and there's this other guy, and he's a lieutenant, and that's Harrison Ford's character. He's like, and he just has that classic Harrison voice. It's just like you can't miss it. Like you could be fucking blind and you can remember his voice. Like you don't need to even see his face. He has such an iconic voice.
Yeah, and then after that, he did Blade Runner as well.
Blade Runner, yeah, and he did that. So he did but it's crazy because he did a lot of big movies, a lot of, a lot of, a lot of. I'm trying to get the freaking words out of my mouth. He did a lot of like big trilogies and did a lot of big like hits through the 70s, 80s, and then I mean the 90s. He played a lot of like he did the one The Fugitive. That was a huge movie that's on TV like all the
Was
time.
that before Star Wars or
That was after Star Wars.
really?
Yes, sir. And then obviously he made a return in the Star Wars movie.
Yeah, he did.
But I guess I heard that like he only wanted to come back as long as his character got killed off or something like that. That's what Mark Hamill
He wanted his
says.
character to get killed off in Empire Strikes Back, but they wanted the option to bring him back if they could, so that's why he ended up being frozen in carbonite.
Yeah,
But
right.
I don't know why he wanted to die. Did he just not like working in the series?
I just don't think
like...
he really he did it for the money. I mean, well, all actors and actresses do. I mean, they're not just going out there. I mean, I'm sure they like to do what they do, but they also got to get paid like anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, we all get to do things get paid, right?
Yeah.
It
No
is what
more
it is.
sequels.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just hope for the Star Wars. Okay, we're done with the sequels. Maybe we could do. If they do the Knights of the Old Republic, I'd be okay with that.
That'd be great.
But they got to do the castings right. They can't screw it up.
It's a rumor that they have Keanu Reeves to play a Sith Lord, so.
Mm, I
What
don't
you,
even care. I like Keanu. I freaking love Keanu Reeves. So,
I
but
thought that'd be pretty cool to see him in a Star Wars role, especially a Sith.
yeah, he could play a good Sith, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, man, we're getting to that time, man. But I just want to appreciate you coming on again, as
Yeah,
always.
man,
Always a
anytime.
pleasure. Always a pleasure. And I'm sure we're gonna rock another one pretty soon. But anyway, I want to thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Thanks
you're
everyone,
welcome.
and we're out of here.